Everyone, I'm Sharon. This is Heritage Journals. I'm glad you're here with me today. Today we're going to be working on the next part of our slow stitch junk journal cover. So I have taken it away, like I said I would last week, and I've done the slow stitching on the entire top, and then I have pulled out the basting stitches, and so this is where I'm left. Now today's video is going to be fun because it is about creativity and problem solving. Now to start with, I realized that I made a mistake, and actually it turned out to be a really good thing because the solution that I came up with required me to really think about it and try to come up with a creative idea on how to fix it, and I like the way it's going to be a lot more than what I originally did. So it can be a very good thing when you make a mistake. Now what I did originally, you notice that I had measured this to be 13 inches wide because I want to put 2 signatures in this journal, and so I need it to be that wide. But after I finished stitching, I realized that it really had pulled together because that's what this type of stitching does. It doesn't keep things stretched apart. So you'll see that my cover is really only 11 and 5/8 maybe, which isn't wide enough. So because I want it to be 13 inches, I've measured an extra 3/4 of an inch on each side. It's going to make it slightly over. That's fine. So I need to add on fabric to make it wider. Now the height is fine. You'll see the height is still pretty close to 9 inches. It didn't shrink vertically, just horizontally. So when this happened, I thought, okay, how am I going to add pieces on so that it doesn't look like I've just slapped some extra pieces on the edge in order to make it look, or in order to make it bigger. I wanted it to look intentional. So what I decided to do was make an edge piece that goes all along the edge on both sides that looks like that's how it was made to be. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And this is also why you want to keep your little bits of fabric as you go, because honestly, you can use your little bits for all kinds of things. So the first thing to do, I'm trying to remember how I did this now. I cut a few pieces that were a bit longer, so not squares, but longer than wider. And basically what I'm going to do with those is put them right out to the line. So let's overlap them a little bit. Yeah, I think the way I actually picked them up, I thought it would be easier to put them down again, but I think I made a mistake there too, but that's okay. We'll create as we go. So let's put the little bit shorter ones right at the top. And put that there. We'll put the longest one right in the middle, or near the middle. And let's do that. Okay, so that gives us our width on that side. And now with the smaller pieces, I'm going to go through, oh, it's crooked, let's flip it over. Now with the smaller pieces, I'm going to go through and add them so that they come out in a staggered way. So you see how this comes down and then it staggers, but then these two lines are too aligned. So I want to have something there that's going to come out a bit farther. So I'm going to use, let's use this M&M piece. And all I did to get these pieces was cut some small squares off of the extra fabric. And then here, let's add a piece there. And maybe a red piece underneath it. blue piece underneath it. I want this to come out so that this middle section is the part that comes into the middle of the journal the farthest. Oops. Okay, so you can kind of see now when you go down the edge, come down, it's staggered out, it goes back in a ways, and it's staggered, and then in the center here, about the center, it comes into the middle the farthest, and then it staggers back out. Now this piece, I don't like those two being straight together like that, so I'll pull the yellow piece in a touch. Maybe what I need to do is actually move it like this, and like this. So we'll do that. So you've got this, and I'm having a hard time getting this to look right. So let's just keep adjusting it. What I want to avoid is straight lines. So this will come down like this. I think what I'll do actually is move the yellow piece up because it's a little bit longer. Move the red piece down. There, and that works. So let's do that again. So it comes down, it staggers, it goes in, it comes out, and it staggers again and comes back in. Now, as I'm looking at this, I think I actually still need one more small piece here. So I've got a piece of this fabric close by. Let's just cut a little square. And add it there. And then that gives it a better balance. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sew, I've done my slow stitching across the whole way, but here I want to emphasize the way that these fabrics are staggered. So I'm going to sew down the whole way, and I'm going to follow the ins and outs of the fabric so that, and I'm going to try to do the rows a little bit closer together than I did here so that it's really obvious that this was intentional and meant to be that way. And I think it's going to actually look really cool when it's done. I think it will be really pretty. And the other bonus is with the thicker stitching and more layers of fabric here, it will actually give it more strength on the edges as well. And I've come up with an interesting idea. I think it's interesting for a closure that we'll be adding on as well. So that'll give it a little bit more strength on this side to attach the closure to as well. So I am going to speed it up while I do the layout on this side to match this, so that you can kind of see my process and how I put things down, but you don't have to watch it in real time. So I'll speed that up now. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So it really does just, pardon me, come down to moving things around until you find a design that you like. I have tried to balance out the reds and the yellows and the blues so that they're not too concentrated in one area. I don't love that these two pieces are butted up, but I'm going to be using a button for the closure, and the button is going to go right about there. So I think that will be fine because it will cover up that those two pieces are butted up together. But I kind of like the way that this looks. So I'm going to go away and I'm going to do my slow stitching all the way down the edge, all around the curves, and then I'll come back and show you the changes, or if I've made any changes, for one thing, because sometimes as you go, you adjust fabrics a little bit. But I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So I'm going to do that now, and then I will come back. All right, I am back, and I finished doing the extra slow stitching along the edges. I have to say I'm a little underwhelmed by it. I thought it was going to be really visible and noticeable. You know, that you could see the shape of it and everything. I did a little bit of a color along the edge, thinking that maybe would help. But it's not, it's fine. I don't love it yet, but I'm also not done. And since today is about creativity and problem solving, I'm thinking I'm just going to forge ahead. I'm going to keep going, and I think by the time I'm done, I know by the time I'm done, I'm going to love it, because I won't stop until I love it. So here we go. So a couple of little changes that I've made. As I was going through the fabric, deciding which pieces to use as accents on here, so the embellishments and the fabric, I realized that this really does have more of an outdoor feel to it, and the fabric has a lot of boats and fish and that type of thing in it, water. So I decided to take this little basket out of the kit because it feels very much more like an inside piece to me. It may not to everybody, and if you choose to use the kit without the fish and go a different direction, you can totally do that. And then in one of those kits, it probably would fit fine. But for this kit, or for this cover that I'm doing, I want it to feel more like an outdoor cover. So I'm going to set that aside, and instead I made this little beach bag, and I think it's really cute. And I think this might be my new favorite stitch, the laced running stitch. I just love it. I think it's so cute how it does. So I'll show you the pieces that I've chosen to put on the cover, and then I'll kind of give you my thought process on how to arrange them. So I am going to use a little girl still. She's out picking flowers. She can live in a place that's somewhere by the beach, so she can stay. Of course, there's flowers by the beach, so those can stay. I like these, this piece with the little houses and the lighthouses and the boats. I think that's super cute. So I'm going to use that. I cut out a piece of my favorite vintage sheet there. I really like this ribbon with the flowers on it. And then there's just a couple pieces of trim and lace that I also really like. So that's the pieces that I'm going to focus on for now. So the first thing I'm going to do is put this piece in place. And I have planned ahead on this. So if it goes fast, that's only because I've given it a lot of thought ahead of time. But take your time if you're planning this for yourself, because it could take however much time that you need. Oh, and the one other thing I was also going to do was, this time I am going to actually mark a little more carefully where my center is, because I want to make sure I'm not putting something right in the middle that isn't going to go well there. So 13.5, that's 6.5 1/4, so 16 or 6 3/4. So that is the actual center on, oopsie, on both. So, and then I'm going to just take and go over a little bit on each side. And I'm only marking the backing, not the actual cover, because this is permanent marker. And I just want to give, because I'm going to have 2 signatures in here, I just want to give myself an idea of where I don't want to have things ending or big bulky pieces sticking out. So the first thing I'm going to do is with this little piece here, is I'm going to put it right in the middle, because I think it's really pretty and I definitely want to use that piece. So we're going to put it there. And I really love this blue floral piece as well. It actually is an iron-on, but I'm going to stitch it down. But sometimes you can find the pretty iron-on patches easier than the ones that aren't iron-on. So I would like it to go kind of right across the page. So it's gonna go around the spine. But if you see, I think that'll actually be okay, because the leaves will be sort of in the middle, and if I have the edges of this all stitched down, I think that will be fine. So I'm going to put that there. I'm going to twist it a little bit so that it covers up the corner of this piece up here, just so that doesn't look awkward. And then I'm just going to pin these two things in place. So that they don't move around. I wanted to mention as well, and I keep forgetting, if you are happy with how your cover looks, like before I added this part on, you don't have to add this on. This is strictly my decision to do that because I wanted my cover to be a little bit bigger, but you certainly don't have to do that. If it's only do whatever you feel like is what the look that you want and what makes you happy. And I cannot get that pin through. Don't know what's going on there. So again, you don't need a ton of pins. I'm just putting things to kind of hold things in place at this point, and then I'll probably move things around as I go. All right, so I got pins up there. Down here, you'll see I also made it so that the flower covers up the corner of this. Okay, so that will kind of hold that in place. Now, the next thing I want to decide is where I want my little girl to go. And I know that I want her to go on the cover. And I'm thinking kind of in this area. Yeah, right around there. So you'll see here, there's this little bit of the yellow coming out behind her, and I want to kind of cover that up. So I'll move her up a little bit, and she looks pretty good sort of in that position. So I'm going to just put a couple of pins in her there. As this fabric gets thicker, as your cover gets thicker, it gets more and more difficult to pin. But that's okay. You know what? I'm just going to put one through like that. And just one through like that. All right. Now, I want something for her to be standing on. And I've got this little piece here of this, this kind of cool little trim. And I thought it kind of looks like grass that's blue. And I know it doesn't need to be that literal, but I sort of like that look. And I wanted her to be standing on something. So I thought we could kind of put that around there, maybe. Is that upside down? Yeah, I like this way. So I'm just going to set that there for the moment and not pin it just yet, because there's a couple other things I thought would look cute down here. Now, one of them is some of these fish. So I like this little piece of ribbon with the fish on it, and I thought I would put them, I think I'll maybe move this grass over a bit. I don't like everything to line up too well. And then this little fish, I will add, so it kind of comes over a little bit. And then in my planning picture, I had everything a little bit higher and it looked better. So I think what I need to do is unpin this piece and just turn it a little bit. So it still crosses the spine, but it gives more room. And then I'm just going to pin that down here as well. Where'd my pins go? So that means then I can move my little girl up move the grass up a little bit, and then I can move my fish up a little bit. Now, I also cut out these two little fish from that one fabric that I have. And I love these little fish and I want to use them. However, they look super modern compared to the other fish. So what I'm going to do is add them, and then when I go back and do my additional stitching, I'm going to change them a little bit so that they have more the style of these more vintage, because this is a vintage ribbon. And so more of the rounded look to them and a little bit simpler pattern. So when I'm stitching, I'll probably stitch the front of the fish here and round the mouth a little bit, round the tail a little bit, and maybe, you know, simplify a couple of the stripes a little so that it sort of matches in style a little bit. And I think that's kind of a fun thing to be able to do, is to know that you can adjust things that maybe don't have the same feel that you want, but that will can be changed to work. And I still think that my little girl needs to go up a little bit more because I don't want everything to be crowded right near the bottom. All right, so there's that. We'll add this little fish, and I think we'll keep the entire little fish there. Now this other little one, I want it to feel like it's part of the same, they're swimming in the same stream, let's call it that. So I'm going to put him here. Now the top of the fabric was right at the edge, and so it kind of cut off any top fin. So I think what I'm going to do is just tuck him a little bit underneath the leaves here so that that's not so obvious, and put him there. So then we'll have both of those little fish there. And over here on the left, I feel like right here needs something because there is that gap that's happening there. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to actually put a little row of houses and a lighthouse and some boats along there. So I'm going to cut this out, probably to the edge of the lighthouse, and attach that there. And then I feel like it needs a little bit of something here, and I think I was just going to use a piece of this white ribbon or white lace to kind of fill in the edge there. But after I cut it out, I'll be able to tell for sure. So I can put a pin in there as well. And then my little basket, I definitely want to have it somewhere here as well. And I think because I've got the little girl on the front, it would be nice to have something on the back that also sort of has that same applique feel, the handmade applique feel. And I think just having it kind of right there is good. I might move it up a little bit depending, once I get this cut out and I know where that is, I'm going to put the basket somewhere in that area. And then the other thing that I thought might look nice, I really love this ribbon and I want to include it. And I thought maybe if I put this part up, that it might actually, see right here, this sort of blends in too much. So I might stick this little piece here and then bring this to the top. So yeah, once I get this cut out, then I'll be able to tell better exactly how that's going to go. But I do like the look of that in there. And then this little piece here, I think is the coolest piece of lace. And I thought, wouldn't it kind of look fun along the bottom? Maybe this is the water that these little fish are swimming in. So that's going to go along the bottom there somewhere. Once I start actually sewing them down, it'll be a little easier to tell. And this piece, I'm going to have to make sure that I place it correctly so that when I trim, it doesn't get cut off, but it'll go along there somewhere. So I like the way this is looking. The only thing I'm not crazy about is my little girl doesn't stand out very much. She's really blending right now with the background, and I do want her to stand out because I think she's really cute. So I found this piece of blue fabric that's about the right size, and I'm going to cut around the blue fabric just a little bit wider. So kind of the same as you would with paper. I'm just going to make a little bit of a border all the way around here so that when she's there, it'll lift her up a little bit and pop her out. And then that's going to sort of give me the basics of what I'm going to do. Now, after I get these things sewn down, I've also got a few buttons and little bits that I've picked out that I thought would be nice to add. This kind, even though it's a lace piece, it sort of reminds me of the wheel of a ship, just the shape of it. So I thought it would be fun to add somewhere. And this, I was going to put it down here, but this area seems to have a lot going on already. So I'm thinking maybe it would go well over here on the back somewhere. And I have this really cool little button. It's a vintage button and it sort of has that nautical feel to it. I thought maybe I'll just put it in the middle there. This button, as I talked about, is going to be my closure, so it'll be in somewhere in there, but we're going to work on the closure in the next video. And then in this little basket, I wanted to sort of mirror the flowers that she's collecting there in a little bit larger basket, and so I decided to pull a couple of sequins. So here's a sequin that would go there, and then I thought I'll maybe put these 3 little beads here to sort of give it and make them look like little flowers being collected in the basket as well. And then this little floral sequin I think is really pretty as well, and I feel like up here it kind of needs something maybe to add a little bit of red to bring this down a little bit more. So that's sort of what the cover is going to look like once I get all of the trim sewn down. And then after that, I'm still going to finish with stitches, you know, some decorative embroidery stitches, and also adding in maybe a little bit more beads and sequins in different spots depending on how it looks when it's done. So at this point, this is kind of what it's going to look like, and already I'm loving it so much more than I did before I added any of this stuff. It's very busy, but this is the style that I like. I like a lot of stuff going on. I think it's really fun and there's a lot of things to look at, and it makes me happy to look at it. So I'm going to go away now and I'm going to stitch down all of these things, and then I'll come back once that's done and show you so you know what it looks like. Then I'll show you where I think we should maybe add in a little bit more stitching or seeds or sequins or beads, maybe some tiny bits of fabric. Like already I can see here, I don't love the way this looks, so I think, you know, probably be nice to do something there, but I want to get the other things sewn down first and see what that looks like before I take that next step. So I'm going to stop here for now, and then I will be back once I get these things sewn down. All right, so I've now finished pinning down everything that I want to pin. I've taken off the buttons and the sequins because of course you can't actually pin those down. But I wanted to show you a couple of things. So this is what the little girl looks like now with the blue outline around her. And I think it just makes her stand off the page a little bit more. And it's just a very small thing, but it is quite effective, I think. Also over here, instead of putting the lace on this side, I actually needed to put it over here because the colors just blended too much. And you couldn't actually see the houses and the boats. It just kind of all washed together. So I put the little piece of white lace there. And yeah, and I've just pinned everything else down. So I've decided that what I'm going to do is go away and sew this. I'm going to post the video now so that you can also get started on your own cover, on adding the embellishments, and do it however you like. As always, if you have any questions at all, please leave a message in the comments. And I've also added my email into the comments or into the description below. So if you want to get a hold of me and ask any questions, I'd be happy to answer them however I can. So yeah, I'm going to go away. I'm going to finish this. And then in the next video, I'll show you how this looks finished, for one thing. I'll also show you what extra stitching and beads and sequins and any little extra bits and pieces I decided to add to make it look pretty. And then in that video, we'll work on the closure, and we'll also work on getting the backing of this cover put on. And I'm going to show you a couple of different options for how to do that. So in the meantime, I'm going to leave you there. I have added a few more kits to my Etsy shop, and I will be adding, hopefully over the next week or so, I'll be adding another batch of these Storybook Threads kits. After that, I'm going to be moving on to a batch of my pink kits called Blush and Bloom, and there's going to be a variety of different shades of pink in those kits available. So I'll get the Storybook Threads put up first. After that is going to focus on more pink kits. If there's any that you want to reserve, if you want to make sure you get one, please don't hesitate to send me an email and just let me know, and I'll set one aside for you and send it out as soon as I get it done. So thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.